100 women and girls have vanished or been murdered. On Parliament Hill, ministers met with reporters to outline the plan they hope will get to the bottom of the issue. Here's Annette Francis.
It was more of a ceremony than announcement. In the foyer of the House of Commons, just meters from where members of Parliament do their work, a prayer.
We pause to reflect today on the serious and tragic incidents that continue to occur.
The Minister of Justice began.
And over the next 2 months, we will hear from more families, other Indigenous peoples, national Aboriginal organizations, and a range of frontline services workers and others. And beginning this week, we will seek their input on the design of the inquiry and on what needs to be achieved.
The inquiry will be done in 2 phases. Phase 1 will be a countrywide meeting with family, municipalities, and other stakeholders. The Minister of Indigenous Affairs says all 3 ministers will be involved in what they are calling the design process.
All of what we will hear will help us determine the objectives, the scope, and the parameters of the inquiry. It will also help identify potential terms of reference for the inquiry, outline the possible activities and participants, and potentially help identify the commissioners.
The government is also in the process of setting up a website so families and all Canadians can keep track of the inquiry. Families like Bernadette Smith, whose sister Claudette Osborne has been missing since 2008. Smith traveled to Ottawa with other family members from Winnipeg for today's announcement.
We've come to this moment in time where our voices are actually being heard and they're actually doing something about, this tragedy.
The NDP says it supports the announcement, but questions still remain.
First of all, I just want to say that the government's going to have the NDP's full support to hold a proper, complete inquiry into murdered and missing Indigenous women and girls in this country. It's a tragedy that's been far too long denied by previous governments, and it's high time that we started getting a full inquiry in place. They'll have our full support in that regard.
The second phase, which is a national inquiry, is expected to be announced this spring. During the election campaign, the Liberal government promised $40 million over 2 years for the inquiry. Bennett now says that was just a number, that the government will take the time it needs to get the inquiry done right. Annette Francis, APTN National News, Ottawa.
Today's announcement of a national inquiry has been a long time coming for many people. Here's APTN's Shanine Robinson with reaction from the friends and family of murdered and missing women across the country.
Trudeau brought the room of First Nations leaders to their feet when he delivered his much-anticipated announcement.
Will be the creation of a national public inquiry into missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls.
Families across the country have been waiting a long time for this moment. The calls first began years ago from the loved ones of the victims of serial killer Robert Pickton.
I'm still fighting for my daughter, justice for my daughter after 19 years through the Opal inquiry. So it's been a long road. We've been fighting this for this for a long time, and I'm so happy that this day has come.
Some have mixed emotions from past broken promises, but they hope for the future.
Today I'm hoping that they make a difference and they keep their promises.
Sue Caribou's niece, Tanya Nipanak, is believed to have been murdered by serial killer Sean Lamb, but her body has never been found.
I don't know how to take this today. I took a couple of days off because I gotta sink it in, and I'm having a hard time, and I don't want our next generation to go through what we've been going through all these years.
I feel very emotional. I've been crying ever since I found out. I keep crying. This is my cousin who was murdered by Robert Pickton. My aunt's still missing. And today just happens to be my cousin's birthday. She would have been 40 today. So I find it very emotional today.